You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech. I am Jim Coppinger, and with me is my partner and the only person silly enough to put up with me every single day, Mr. Rocco Parisi. How are we doing today, Rocco?
Oh, just ducky yourself.
Hey, I'm on the right side of the grass, so I'll take it as a win. Some days that's the best you can hope for.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So
what is your grass green though?
I don't know. I don't look at the grass. It's hot around here. It's August. It's tight. Everything's burning up in yellow. So it's the right side, but it's ugly brown and yellow grass. So, well, you can't have everything. Someday maybe we'll have nice green grass and we'll make millions of dollars and be able to afford lawn care people to come in and make it look pretty for us. What do you think?
Sure.
I like it. It's a good plan. All right. So we talk about that. So our topic today is tech overkill, right? When it stops helping and starts hurting. So that's what we're going to talk about, tech overkill, right? The idea that we can have too much technology, right? And that it really does start to become more of a burden than a blessing. Now, folks listening, right, you might think that, as, tech specialists in this industry, that Rocco and I would be telling you that more technology and more software is a good thing. But the truth is, Rocco and I, we pride ourselves in being honest, right? We're honest on this podcast, and we're also honest with all of our clients. The truth is that there is a point of diminishing return when it comes to technology. And you can put so many processes in place that the bulk of your workday winds up getting taken up just controlling those processes instead of getting your billable work done. Listen, when it comes to software, we've all heard the old KISS acronym, right? KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And we usually think that means making the processes as easy as we can. And it does. But I think that it also means limiting the number of tools that you're using. Okay? So we're going to focus today on, obviously the AEC and manufacturing world and the design softwares, right, that we work with in those industries as examples. But the concepts that we're talking about here, I think they apply to just about all business types and all software systems. So it doesn't really matter, which angle you're coming at this from, right? We have the same concerns. So Rocco, what do you find, looking on the client side, right, in terms of simplifying technology and workflow demands? Right? Are most folks that you talk with looking to add more tech, or are they focused on simplifying the technology that they already own?
No, they definitely want to simplify what they have, and adding just brings a whole other level of complication aside from the cost, right? Especially nowadays, you don't want to spend more than you have to, but it just brings a whole other level of complexity. So
well, I like to spend more than I have to, but you yell at me for that. I mean, apparently, a stretch limo is not necessary in our line of work, but fine, Rocco, be like that. So, no, but you're right. I agree with that stance, right? I'm a firm believer that less is more when it comes to tech, whether it's hardware or software. I think that, every additional system that you introduce is going to slow down the output, the output of your project, right? And I think that's true no matter what the salespeople, like Rocco, will tell you, right? The productivity boost that you get from their software doesn't always correlate directly to a net positive on your output, right? I think that the part that we all need to consider, right, particularly in the CAD and design world, is that, while the salespeople may be correct, right, and their cool new app, right, is going to...
what was that, Jim?
You didn't hear that. It's not recorded. You didn't hear me say that salespeople might possibly be correct. Never happened. Uh, yeah, all right, okay. You're right once in a while, right? Even a broken clock is right twice a day, Rocco. Sure. But yeah, I mean, everybody's going to tell you that, hey, I got this great new software package. It does all these great things, and it's going to save you, 10% of your daily workload when you go to design your widget, whatever it is you do. But the thing you need to understand, I think, is that doesn't mean you're going to save 10% on the job. Okay, you have to consider, right, in that scenario, you have to consider the additional time it's going to take to open up and run that cool new app. Right? You're going to have to consider the time that it takes to convert files to that app's format. Right? Then you're going to have to run new and different processes inside this app. And then you're going to possibly even have to re-export it back out as either a report or back to the original file format to use in your normal design CAD system. Right? So, their process is 10% faster than the one you've been using if all you look at is the design process. Right? The reality of it, though, is that the actual time to process your design in two separate tech solutions can take twice as long. Right? So, you need to look not just at the benefit of a single operation, right, that you're looking to improve, but at the overall workflow process. All right, you have to look at all the steps you need to go through to complete your work and look for the net benefit, right, or the loss in production, right? What are you going to see there? So, Rocco, does this even come up for you in regular conversations? I mean, are people thinking in any detail about the net impact, or are they simply looking at the published benefits they see for a new tool or a new software?
It depends on who we're talking to, right? I mean, we work with a lot of small to large businesses. I mean, the end user is looking at what's in front of them at the moment, right then and there, while as the manager, the executive, the owners got a wider approach on things.
Okay. All right, that's fair. Right? That's always a separation, right? Management guys always looking at the money, which you need. You got to have both sides to balance out that equation. So, all right. So let me give all listeners here. Let me give you guys a CAD-based example of what I mean. I mean, after all, this is the CAD. I'll call it podcast. So we deal with both Revit and BricsCAD BIM in our daily work, right? Now, I'm not going to get into sales thing, right, where I tell you which is a better system, right? Both developers will tell you it's theirs. But, when you're looking at a system like this and which is the way to go, looking for the net benefit can help you decide which is the right way to go for yourself, right? So, in the Autodesk world, when you need to do a design, right, you're doing a full-blown design, what do you need to do? Okay, so we're going to use Civil 3D for the site work. We're going to do AutoCAD for the 2D layout and planning. All right, and then when we get into the 3D and the BIM, we're going to get into the Revit family. Okay, and those are all great softwares. They're all amazing softwares with immense power, right? But they all run with different file types, different tools, different work processes, right? And that means that a lot of your time is going to go into just converting files and moving them back and forth between these systems. Right? Does each of those systems provide you a positive benefit? Absolutely. Like I said, they're great tools. The thing is, though, is that you need to weigh the benefits against the time loss and the potential problems that come from that constant back and forth between different technologies, right? So, BricsCAD, right? On the other hand, right, they have gone a different route, and they've integrated all those systems into a single program in a single file format. Does it have application benefit? Sure, it does, right? And feel free to argue over whether or not they're as good as the Autodesk ones. I mean, I happen to think they are. That's why we work with it. But what you can't deny, right, is that a system like BricsCAD, a single source systems like that, removes a lot of potential lost time by giving you one consistent set of tools, one single file to work in, right? And that's what we mean by looking for the tech overkill. Right? It's about finding that the best overall workflow with the smallest number of tools that you're going to need to ensure that you're being as productive as you can be. Right? And that's what we're really here to talk about today. So I think with that, Rocco, we can take a break to hear from today's sponsor. Right? And then we will be back to talk more about Tech Overkill. I love that title, Tech Overkill. I say it again. We'll be back in just a few minutes, folks. All right, everybody. Today's episode of the Cattle Call podcast is brought to you by Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. We're bringing ourselves to you. Aren't we nice? So we wanted to talk to you guys today about some of the things that we offer at Zentech Consultants. In particular, we wanted to talk to you today about our offerings around developing and upgrading your CAD standards. We are here to help you guys with all of your CAD standard needs, from ongoing drafting and design support to block and library development, full CAD standards development, right? CAD version upgrades, really whatever it is that you guys need when it comes to developing, implementing, and tweaking your current CAD standards. Or like I said, if you don't have any yet, we can help you build them from scratch. So Rocco, why don't you tell all the good folks how they can reach out to us and start that conversation?
Yeah, there's a lot of information, people, on our website, zentechconsultants.net. That's ZENTEK consultants.net. Or you can give us a call, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@zentechconsultants.net.
Ooh, nice. CAD standards from Zentech Consultants. You're listening to the Cattle Call podcast. All right, we are back with the Cattle Call podcast. All right, so we're talking today about tech overkill. And how too many software solutions can actually begin to hurt your bottom line instead of helping it the way that you hope they would. One of the big things that I think we need to consider in this conversation is the potential loss of data when we're using cross-platform solutions. And I think that's really an important thing that really gets overlooked a lot, particularly, like I said, by management who's looking at the numbers and not always at the day-to-day operational setup. And I think the thing that you need to remember is that every time that we do a transfer or a conversion of design information, right, from one system to another, we also have to consider the possibility of losing data. Right? Now, what I mean by that is and I'm not just talking about an electronic, behind the scenes, software compatibility issue. Because the software developers do their utmost to avoid those. Even though they do happen sometimes, but they really work very hard at fixing and updating those as they move forward. But I think that in most instances, when we're moving between technical solutions, there is a human element that needs to be considered, right? So, we have to select the specific data that we want to transfer, right? Then we have to go in through a process and select the correct formatting for that data. And then sometimes we even have to structure that data and select it and massage it in specific ways so that it can be read by whatever the destination solution is, right? And that means that every time you do any kind of a transfer between software systems, you're also depending on human interaction, right? And that is always your biggest source of errors, right? And listen, don't, anybody listening, don't take that personally, right? I don't care how good your staff is or how talented you are, right? People make mistakes sometimes. They always
Not
do.
me.
Well,
Not
except
me.
for Rocco. I'm sorry. You're absolutely correct.
Right.
Rocco is you're
Perfectamundo
nearly perfectamundo. Oh my! Wait, I just flashed back to 1970. I'm working with the fonts here all of a sudden. Oh goodness! It shows you how old I am that I just immediately made that connection. That's terrible. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. So no matter how good your staff is, right? When they make mistakes, and they will, unless they're Rocco, you're now using incomplete, right, and very possibly incorrect data to make your business decisions, right? And that can result in a real massive time and money loss for you and your company. All right, so Fonzarelli Jr. over there. What's the vibe on the street when it comes to dealing with transferring data between software systems, right? I mean, are a lot of people looking to regularly use multiple solutions, or are they asking us to help them optimize the one system? And, are they really considering that potential loss and moving back and forth?
Well, if you're somebody who's semi-technical like me, it's a scary thought, right? Because you just transferring data from one system to another, you know that there's always going to be issues.
There
So
always are.
you definitely want that simplicity and yeah. So people, it depends on who you are, but generally speaking, it's a scary thought. So again, you want to keep it simple. Being a one or as many few platforms as you can is the key.
Okay. All right, and like I said, I know that we do a lot of consulting work. Obviously, right? That's what we do. But do people, like I said, do they come with us at first with the conversation about a new software, or do we get more conversations? You think in updating and configuring?
Yeah, it usually comes around we're sticking with the platform that they have, you
Okay.
know.
All right, which I think is actually really the most important point here. It's that idea of configuring and optimizing the system that you're already using, right? Is in most cases really the best solution available. And I think an issue that I run up against when we have these conversations, right? When I'm talking to clients about configuring a system, is I think that there is a confusion. They tend to blend the words customizing and configuring. They're different things. Okay, customizing in most people's mind equals high expense, and they're not wrong. Building custom solutions, you have to update them and install them, and they have potential problems. That's not what we're talking about, right? We're not talking about customizing something. We're talking about configuring the software using the built-in native tools and functionality of it. Proper configuration and spending time optimizing your workflows inside your current software usually costs much less than buying a new software system, right? Plus it helps you avoid or it helps you avoid rather the net loss to your workflow that we were talking about earlier. One of the hardest things that I have to do with clients when we're working on consulting jobs here at Zentech is that I have to let them know as gently as possible. Otherwise, Rocco yells at me. That the problems, right, that are frustrating them aren't always technical issues. Okay, I would say that better than 50% of the time, right, the primary issue is human error and poorly defined workflow procedures. Right, what I mean by that is people get their work done and they get it done because they've figured out some way to do something that sort of works, but it's slow and it's error prone and it's frustrating, right? And the boss is saying, "Why is it taking so long? And what are you doing?" So the answer is blame the software. The software is garbage. Yeah. See, the reality is with a little bit of consulting time, right, with someone like Zentech or hey, listen, it doesn't have to be us, with anybody, right? Getting some consulting time, doing a bit of training, it almost always resolves those frustrations. Okay, I truly believe that you're better off looking to repair your current process before moving off to a new software. Look, it's like the old saying, right? My old man used to tell me, you don't move out of your house because the roof is leaking. You just go fix the roof, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's the way to approach your software the same way. All right, so like I said, Rocco, training and tech consulting, that's our primary field here at Zentech, right? So we push those a lot. So how do clients in our base respond to our or my polite suggestions that training their staff and configuring their current systems a little bit better is more beneficial than buying more software? Do we find that we get positive responses from that, or do we find that folks are resistant to that idea?
No, they're usually on board with the idea. Obviously, there's a cost involved with training, but again, most of the time people have their feet in the water already. So we're just trying to help them improve on their workflow.
Mm-hmm.
How do I use Bluebeam better, for example? How do I use AutoCAD better? Civil 3D. I'm not going to list them all, but so they want to improve on what they've already got in place.
Right. And that's it, right? They've already got even if they're not flawless, they're not perfect, they're not everything you want them to be, your users have skills in your current platform, whatever that is, whatever software you're working in, they at least know the basics, right? So the best option in my mind is always to make them better with what they already know, rather than trying to introduce a new thing, right? So
and we're all resistant to change at some level, whether you're young or old. Sticking with what you've got is a lot easier to say, hey, did you know that these features exist within your existing tool set? Can we show you how to use them? Somebody's a lot more open to that kind of change versus, hey, we're dumping your existing platform and now we're going to show you a tool that's new and better.
Yeah, you've lost all your institutional knowledge. It's gone.
Right.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So yeah, and I think that's exactly where I think trying to sum this up here, right? That the big thing you need to consider each time that you think about adding a new software system, all right, is that it brings a learning curve with it. All right, like I said, we do a ton of training at Zentech, and we're always happy to take your money. Believe me, Rocco takes everybody's money. He has taken all of mine. I have nothing left.
That's because you want that stretch limo.
I think I need it. I'm just saying, I think I need it. I mean, just think how awesome my bald head will look sticking out of the sunroof of a limo. That's all I'm saying. I'm just visualize, Rocco. It's a beautiful sight. Okay. So, oh man. So you can't get me started. I just get completely off topic. All right. So yeah. So think about this, folks. Right. Before you go ahead and you add another software system, all right, you need to consider that each package has it's like Rocco was saying before, right? A whole new set of tools, a whole different workflow that your end users are going to have to learn from scratch, right? And that's not just, hey, you're going to attend a training class and then you'll be expert type of undertaking. It does not work that way, okay? Once your users learn these new tools, right, through your basic class, whether it's an hour, a day, a week, or a month, I don't care, they still have to adapt them to some kind of reasonable workflow that's going to get you a decent output that you can use on your projects. And that takes months, sometimes years of effort for every new system that you introduce to your company. Okay? So again, you need to compare that potential time frame against the simplicity of just training and working more on your current system and looking for better tools and processes in it that you don't know about today. Okay? That could potentially solve your issues more efficiently, more quickly. So look, here's my general advice for everybody listening, right? And I say this because I run across it on a regular basis when working with our clients. Don't let your pride get in the way of doing the right thing, right? Just because you've used this software for 5 years doesn't mean that you fully understand or even know all of the things that it can do, right? You need to be willing to talk to a technology consultant and consider that we may know processes that you don't, right? And it's not because we're any smarter than you, right? Believe me, Rocco will tell you I'm not smarter than anybody. And you're probably every bit as good, if not better, at using that software as we are. The difference is that we are paid to find better ways of doing everything, right? You're getting paid to focus on your job and be productive for billable purposes. Right? This is our area of specialty. Right? So give us poor consultants the opportunity to improve your current setup before kicking it to the curb and starting from scratch with a new one. Right? Otherwise, I'm never getting that limo, folks, is all I'm saying. All right? So help this poor old bald man out. Would you give me my limo? All right, Rocco, anything else you want to throw in here today?
Nope, I'm good to go.
Good deal. All right, so we're going to jump in our stretch limo and we're going to get out of here. We'll leave you all folks with that thought, and we will catch you in the next podcast. All right, take it easy, everybody. We'll see you in the next Cattle Call podcast. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.